Hi, my name is Steve Snapp, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Salesforce for Building Materials. Today we're going to talk about the Salesforce Building Materials Manager Dashboard. Before we get started, I want to mention that we have two links in the video description you should know about. I'll mention these again at the end of the video if you'd like to keep watching, but I wanted you to know that we've included a link to our pricing video where we share the pricing for Salesforce Construction, and we've also included a link to our guided free trial. The guided free trial will allow you to start using Salesforce Construction immediately in your business while providing a step-by-step learning path. Now, before I get started, I want to just restate what problem were we trying to solve when we built this dashboard. So obviously in our product, if you've seen any of our other videos, we put a lot of emphasis on the metrics that we use to calculate the performance of a project and the performance of a sales team with general contractors and architects, etc. But the specific problem we were trying to solve for the manager was how do we give the manager essentially the same visibility that we give a sales rep, but to effectively roll up the same information. Now, our dashboards are designed to reinforce a couple of certain ideas. Our dashboards are designed to reinforce some key principles related to how you leverage information in Salesforce for Building Materials. And so in this example, I'm showing the rep dashboard where we're showing their pipeline or their projects by spec percentage, etc. We've got another video where we go through this in detail. So the concept here was we want to take information from that project object and we want to be able to roll it up. So things like spec percentage, and while I go through this longer in another video, I just want to give you a quick little glimpse if you haven't seen that. Projects by spec percentage, for example, show the sales rep how many of the architects that they're working with are specifying our product. So architects that specify a lot of the time, let's say 75% or greater, would be 75 plus in this example. Well, architects that specify 25% of the time would be 25, etc. So the whole point is how do we take the data that's in Salesforce, by architect or by general contractor, and how do we group that information into a unified way of thinking about those architects or general contractors so the salesperson can take advantage of them, or take advantage of the metrics, not the architects. So in this example, I've got the project funnel and you can see some of the other metrics. Now I'm not going to go through all of these. The purpose here was to reinforce, well, what are we doing with the manager dashboard? So you may decide to modify these charts a little bit, but the concept that we will recommend that you don't abandon is this idea that the manager should see the same thing in the same place that the rep is seeing, but the manager should see it for their universe, meaning their multiple reps that they manage versus, in this example, the rep just sees it for themselves. So a good example here is the funnel. I'm looking at this funnel. This is my sales funnel, for example. But when I look at it from a manager view, I'm going to see that same funnel grouped by sales rep. So the total numbers end up equaling the same, but now I can see Steve Snapp's funnel versus John Doe's funnel, and I can see, without drilling into the funnel, the same thing that Steve's seeing. So in this example, when I'm looking at Steve's funnel, I'm looking for things that might represent risk. For example, this isn't the example I have in the demo system isn't what I'm describing. But if I had a guy with a really big, things that were in bidding and rebidding, and he had nothing in the top of his funnel, that would tell me he's probably going to have a great quarter, but after that, he's got a whole lot of prospecting to do, or he hasn't put things in his funnel. He's got projects that he hasn't identified yet. So as a manager, I'm looking for risk. I'm looking for how well are my sales team members executing on our various strategies. Now, we've baked some strategies into our product, this idea of managing architects, that are in different levels of specification percentage. We do the same thing with builders, managing different levels of award percentage. But in any of those cases, what we're working on is understanding what's happening at those individual rep levels so that they can make decisions. So in this example, I'm looking at what an individual sales rep would see in their sales funnel. And as you can see, it breaks the sales funnel down into specific stages or steps. So this is the sales rep looking at their funnel, knowing what's in the various stages. Well, if I look at the manager dashboard essentially shows that same funnel, but it's now grouped or divided by individual reps. So the key thing that a manager is generally looking for, in my opinion, is risk. Are there any things that I need to know about across my team that I need to reinforce? But I want to reinforce them in a consistent, uniform way. Meaning I want to reinforce, for lack of a better word, the kinds of behaviors that I want my team to be focused on. So in this example, and I'm not saying this is the way that you would do it in your organization, but you might want to make sure that there's a certain amount of deal volume in each tranche of their pipeline. So this enables you as a manager to visualize what's in their pipeline and be able to look at it across an entire team and be looking at the same thing that the rep is looking at just for their individual territory. So other examples of that might be things like specification percentage, where we've built into the product an ability to measure how effective does an architect specify our product versus how often does a general contractor award to us. Now, some of these concepts may not totally apply to you, but if I want to train and I want to manage my team to focus on how much energy or activity they're putting into architects that specify us, let's say we really want to show the love to architects that specify our product 50% of the time. Well, then I want to be able to see across my reps which reps are neglecting those architects as an example. So if I go back to the rep view, for example, you can see here that we've got this idea that we call specification percentage. And if I scroll down further, I can show how many architects that are in that 75% category are receiving frequent contact. That's what this chart's showing. And again, I have another video where we go into more detail about that. Well, in this example, Steve can see that he has a couple of architects that are considered those high value architects that haven't gotten the love from him in some period of time. Well, I can then see that same thing when I come look at that. I can look and see, hey, which of your high value architects are being neglected? So I'm looking at the same information as a manager in the same format at the same time, and I can identify risks and then review that with my team. So the whole point, I often quote the idea that what's inspected is respected. So the whole point is that we want to make it easy for the manager to inspect those same metrics that the sales rep is looking at. It's like you're looking at the same dashboard in your car. Hey, you're almost out of gas, or your oil is low, or did your oil light just go on? It's an extra way for the manager to reinforce that behavior. And as I always say, the goal here is not for the manager to micromanage. The goal is for the manager to reinforce the right behaviors so that the dashboards mean something to the sales rep. If my manager asks me every time my pipeline gets too low in a particular category, I know that he's paying attention to it, and now because he inspects it, I respect it. Therefore, I'm encouraged or I'm incentivized to pursue that particular behavior. So it's just an easy way for the manager to reinforce the kind of behavior that you want out of your sales team. And so it might not be these exact dashboards, but the concept of taking what's available to the rep and then displaying it for the manager and then displaying it for the executive, that's the concept that we're trying to reinforce, because we want the dashboards to mean something. We want our red light on the oil to mean something to the people that are looking at it. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I know your time is very limited. I've included 2 possible next steps in the video description. These include a link to our pricing video where we share the pricing for Salesforce Construction, and I've also included a link to our guided free trial. The guided free trial will allow you to start using Salesforce Construction immediately in your business while providing a step-by-step learning path. The guided free trial also introduces what we call the Guaranteed Quick Start, which is several pre-scheduled calls with our team to help make any light configuration changes like pick lists or reports, and also help you migrate any data that you want in your free trial. If you're not ready for those 2 choices, please spend some time here on our YouTube channel learning more about the specific problems we've solved for Salesforce Construction. Thank you again for some of your time, and we'll see you soon.